welcome to the Business Analyst Product Introduction session. Thank you for joining us. My name is Praveen Srivastav. I am joined with my colleagues here, Fasil Tairu, Kyle Watson, and Daniel Lee. All of us are on the Business Analyst product team, manage different aspects of the product. And we would like to give you a good overview of the product as well as show you some nice demos. So before jumping in though, just a quick show of hands. How many of you are familiar with Business Analyst, know about it, somewhat familiar? Good, somewhat. And how many of you have actually used the product, logged into it, or used the extension? Okay, good, not that many. So that's perfect because the content of this session is going to be introductory, help you understand what the product is, what problems it solves. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to have a quick overview of the product, what Business Analyst is, who this is for, what kind of business problems it can help you solve. Then we're going to see some good demos from Fasil on the Business Analyst Web app and how easy it is to use and get started with. I'll show a little bit of mobile app as well. Then we'll talk a little bit about the demographic and businesses data that's included with the product, a brief overview of what that data is, where it's coming from, and things like that. And then we'll switch to Dan and Kyle for a demo on how you could use the Business Analyst extension for ArcGIS Pro. And towards the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. All right, so what kind of problems, what kind of business problems ArcGIS Business Analyst helps you solve and where you can apply it? So primarily, it helps you make smarter and data-driven decisions. Whether those are related to evaluating any locations, site locations, or understanding your customers or population in an area, or analyzing market as a whole, which could be like analyzing the whole Southern California region from a demographic standpoint. And this is applicable in a variety of workflows. So whether that's a government sector trying to determine at-risk population, or finding an emergency shelter location, or in retail, trying to understand your customers, segmenting them, assigning different Tapestry segmentations to them. So the product makes it really easy for you to make those decisions about locations and people around the globe. As I was mentioning, it's used, Business Analyst is used in a variety of sectors and industries. Some examples I'm showing here. So for example, in finance, banks are using this, big banks are using this to optimize their ATM network, to optimize their branch network. In retail, many departmental stores, quick service restaurants, they are using it to target the right population for their business, locate their locations. In commercial real estate, big and large, making decisions on properties. Hospitals, public health agencies, in government sector, whether it's local government, economic development kind of use cases, or state or federal government to determine at-risk population and reaching the right audience. They make those decisions using Business Analyst. So a lot of those we'll see through the demos here how it could be used. But let's look at what the product offers at the functional level. What is it delivering to you when you buy Business Analyst? So a main piece, the biggest piece of the product is the demographic data that's included and ready to use in the product that comes included. And it's the data that's included is for 137 countries. In the US, we deliver over 11,000 demographic variables with the product. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We have a lot of mapping tools in the product to help you visualize that data, understand what's going on, see some patterns. Several basic and advanced analytical capabilities that help you gain insights from that data and make some decisions. And also pretty advanced and sophisticated reporting and infographic creation capabilities that help you summarize the work you are doing in really nice visual formats that you can share with your stakeholders or decision makers or colleagues. So how are customers using Business Analyst? How are they accessing it? How are they interacting with it? Primarily through these three applications here. The web application, the extension for ArcGIS Desktop and ArcGIS Pro, the mobile application. Web app is by far the most popular application. We'll see that in the demo. It's really easy to use. It's in a browser. You just log in. You get all the data in there. you go ahead and start using it and focusing on your work instead of preparing the data and getting the tools set up and things like that. The desktop and Pro extension, that's primarily geared towards the GIS users with a background and knowledge in GIS. And it has data delivered locally, as well as a number of advanced analytical capabilities and Python scripting and model builder and those kind of core Pro desktop technology that you could use with Business Analyst. And the mobile app is more popular with many of our business users who are on the go. And they need some quick and easy market analysis while they're in client meetings and such, and they can use the Business Analyst mobile app for that. All these applications, they work pretty seamlessly in terms of sharing content from one application to another or accessing the work that you're doing in another one. So we'll see an example of that in the mobile demo here. And these, all of them could be deployed using ArcGIS online services in the online SaaS environment, or they could be deployed behind your firewall on premises. In many sectors such as finance and healthcare, there's that requirement that they can't host their data in the third-party cloud. So this could be delivered on premises as well with the use of Business Analyst Enterprise. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Fasil to show you a quick overview of the Business Analyst Web app. That's it. Perfect.
Thank you, Praveen. Can you hear me in the back? All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Fasil. I'm one of the product engineers on the Business Analyst team. And today, I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to the Business Analyst Web application. If you're first time signing in, you can access this browser-based application by going to bao.arcgis.com. Or if you're already signed in to your ArcGIS Online organization account, you can use the app launcher, and you can find Business Analyst from here as well. So let's go ahead and get signed in. So once you're signed in, this is the landing page or the home page. Here we have a carousel explaining what the new features, including blogs that could help you get started or get yourself familiar with the new features in the app. We also have some new contents, including projects, sites, and reports that you run on the previous session. If you're new, I strongly recommend that you take a look at this quick start video to understand some of the critical or the popular workflows in the app. And as Praveen mentioned, the backbone of this app is the content that comes with the app. Right now, I'm using the United States data source, but this is the data is available for over 130 countries. I think 137. Mm-hmm. So I also would like to highlight this great feature, what we call a step-by-step guided tour. If you're new, I strongly recommend that you go through this workflow, especially if you want to create infographics. We'll walk you through the step-by-step instructions. I'll go ahead and dismiss it, and if you want to get it back, if you just go to help, and it's right here. And if you would like to understand more about the data or look at our help documentation, it could be found here as well. And also, if you would like to configure your application to with specific base maps or specific country or other additional organization settings, you can do it from the preferences page as well. So for our quick demo today, we're thinking about, let's say I work for a company who focuses on fitness studios. And we're thinking about opening a new store in the San Diego area. So we have a predetermined set of variables that we're thinking about. And then let's see if we can explore some kind of initial analysis using the web application. So one of the most popular features in the app is what we call color-coded maps. That data we talked about, sorry about that, sign me out. All right, let's go back in. All right, let's sign again. There we go. So you go to Create Maps, Color-Coded Maps. So what this workflow does for you is it will help you visualize the data, over 11,000 variables for the United States. Also, you can bring in your own data as well if you have some services hosted in ArcGIS Online or portal, or if you have a shapefile or an Excel file that you would like to bring in. So those will be saved under My Data. You can bring it in and visualize it the same way. So as you can see in the data browser, the data that comes out of the box includes different categories, including population, education, behavior, spending, tapestry, and then crime data. So let's say for my new store, I would like to open this store in an area where there is a higher population growth rate. I can select that variable, and I can visualize it on the map right away. And then let's see if we can map this variable at these different geography levels as well. For example, I'm interested in finding out those zip codes with the highest rate of population growth. There we go. And then I would like, if I want to filter out those zip codes, I can use the slider, and it will dynamically filter out for you as well. But you can also visualize your map, these variables, by adding additional variables. On top of population, I would like to look at also the income at this zip code level. By using one of the smart mapping options that are available here, you can visualize two variables at the same time. So for this one, I can do a dot density with color-coded maps. Or I can just use the color and size as well. So once you do your preliminary analysis, you can export the data to Excel, or you can simply create a PDF of the map, or you can simply share it to ArcGIS Online as a web map using the ArcGIS web map sharing experience. The other mapping option that's available in the app is Smart Map Search. This is a three-step process that would help you search for a location that meets your specific market criteria. So for this demo, we're just thinking about fitness studio, but this could be used for any other kind of business that you have in mind. You just have to select those variables that matter to you the most. So let's go back to the data browser again, and then let's see if we can play around with some variables. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm interested in those areas with the highest population growth. I'm going to look at the index this time, and I would like to include some income variables. And I'm also interested in creating a custom variable for people between the age of 21 and then, let's say, 40. Just simple as that. By sliding this variable ranges, I can create a custom variable for people between the age of 21 and 40, and I can add it to my Smart Map Search as well. And then you can also search and add additional variables. For example, for my demo, I'm interested in finding out if people in those zip codes, who is eating more organic food, for example. Or I can search for people who attended yoga sessions in the past 12 months. So as you can see, I've selected 5 different variables, and I can go ahead and apply that. And by using these sliders, and let me go ahead and switch this to the zip code level. All right. So the higher the population growth rate is, the better for my new studio. And I prefer those households with higher household income. As you can see, it's dynamically filtering out my sites for me. And also I can say median household income between, let's say, 50,000 and let's say 150,000. You can use these adjusters, and then you can filter out the desired site. The same thing, once you do this preliminary analysis, you can share this, export this to Excel, or just create a web map or create a PDF as well. So let's go ahead and dig in further to help us analyze which one is the best location for our new store. So my project manager gave me some task. He gave me 3 different locations that are ideal for our new store. I have the address, and I have some additional information, the square footage of those buildings, the lease, and then the available parking area. So what I could do is I can just go ahead and copy these addresses individually one by one. I can search for them here, and then I can create the sites one at a time. But we also have a workflow that will let you import files or web maps or set up your own custom data. So I'm going to use the import file workflow, and then I will be able to import the file that I just showed you, and I can map it. It's a point location, so based on the addresses that I provided in that table, it will geocode it for me. As you can see, some of my store locations are residing in those zip codes that I was interested in. So I'll go ahead and create. So for my analysis, what I would like to do is I would like to understand the underlying demographics within a 5-minute drive time of those candidate locations. So what I would like to go ahead and do is click the drive time option, 5-minute drive time, and I would like to create these sites around those locations. As you can see, it's automatically created those drive time areas for me. All right. So what we can do here at this point is, I'll go ahead and remove my Smart Map search layer. And I would like to dig in and find out more about those candidate locations. There's a powerful tool called Suitability Analysis. Based on your criteria input, it will rank these sites for you. Dan is going to go through that workflow in depth, so I'm just going to skip that for now. Instead, I'm going to show you another workflow, what we call color-coded maps. So at this point, I have the drive times created. So what I would like to go ahead and do is select all these sites, and I would like to go ahead and compare them.
So that's the comparison reports workflow, right?
Yeah, exactly, that's the comparison report. All right. So you'll have the same data browsing experience. So I pre-selected these variables earlier, and what I'm doing is I provided all these 6 variables, and I'm comparing my sites based on those variables. Actually, I can make one of them as a benchmark to see how the other sites compare. Are they above or below compared to my existing one of my sites? Or what I could do is I can create a simple chart, and I can visualize how those sites compare as well. So once you do this, you can print it or export it to Excel as well. Okay. So what else can you do? There's some great workflows that we haven't covered, but I would like to highlight one more feature that is really popular. If you attended the plenary session, there was some really cool infographics that were presented there. So this is the app that you use to create those cool infographics. So let's go ahead and zoom in to one of my sites, and let's go ahead and create some of those infographics. So I customized this one a little bit, as you can see, and then you can add any variables that matter to your business. So for me, I added household income. It includes a map of that location, unemployment, and also the population information. This infographic is fully dynamic and fully interactive. You can export this to PDF if you like, or you can export it to dynamic HTML, so you can embed it in your website. And like I said, it's fully interactive. So if I click on one of those variables, I can see it, for example, an age pyramid, and I can understand more about that specific area, and I can compare it at the state level, or I can compare it to the San Diego County or to the whole country as well. So we also have out-of-the-box, ready-to-go infographic templates. For example, I can show you the population trends. This is new. the 7.2 release. As you can see, this is fully customizable, or you can take this and you can incorporate your own data if you like as well. We also have a variety of infographics that you can take a look and then find out if that fits your specific business need as well. Okay, so I did all these analysis. So I would like to present the results of my analysis to my project manager. So earlier I showed you how to share your color-coded maps in Smart Map Search using the PDF or the ArcGIS Web Map workflow. In the last release, 7.2, we also introduced this new workflow of sharing your content from BA Web App using story maps. So what I would like to do is I would like to show you how you can create story maps and embed the contents that you create in the web app using this workflow. So I would like to include those 3 sites that I just imported. And I can configure this with attributes that I would like to include in my story map. Select the infographics that I would like to see. As you can see, you can select one of the Esri infographics or the one that I just created. And I would like to go ahead and just apply this. Go to next. And all I have to do is just name this. And select the base map you like to be used in this story map. And the sharing, if you like to share it with the whole organization or to a specific group. All right. So while this is creating in the background, just to save time, I went ahead and created this. With minimal editing, you can create story maps directly from the Business Analyst Web application. You can create a beautiful story map to show the results of your analysis this way. So, it's loading again, there we go. So I ranked my sites. As you can see, I have the map fully interactive. It includes the images of those locations, the site attributes that I imported from the Excel file, and also that infographics that I run for that specific site. Again, this infographics is still fully interactive. You can filter it, you can play with it, and the same thing for the other sites as well. So what I could do is I can share this with my project manager, and he can, this will help him to make that decision which one is the best location to open our new fitness studio. And with that, Praveen, I'll give it back to you. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free.
I do, Praveen.
Great. You do? Fasil.
Could your project manager edit it or swap it?
Exactly, exactly. So as the author of the story map, I have the option to edit. I can edit that for him, or if I give him permission, he should be able to modify this story map as well.
Cool. So swap in new images.
Yes. Yeah. All I did was here, I did minimal editing with the text. The map is already by default embedded for you from the web app, the images, and also the infographics.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is just it's a wonderful way to share your work. If you might have spent weeks on that analysis, and you're probably not going to mail your computer to your project manager and say, look what I did. So you got to find a way to present that in an elegant way, and there's all these great components of your Business Analyst Web app that you've built. And then there's a story map thing, so users are just like, well, I've got all this stuff that I did, and how can I get into the story map? So we essentially took the story map functionality, embedded it into the Business Analyst Web as a convenience, and it's not replacing it by any means, but
definitely.
It's been a very, very popular new feature in there.
Yep.
Yeah. How many of you?
Is that a high-res file? Is that going to be like 50 megs in size, or is that a smaller resolution?
Yeah, so the question is the files that are included in story maps, those could be really high-res files and could be really large in size. So I think we follow the limit on the file size that ArcGIS or story maps has. And I can't recall exactly what it is, but I think it's up to 10 megabytes or something like that, but we'll have to look into that to confirm. But we just follow that model. So, but in general, if you have the pictures like Fasil was showing and the infographics, that runs fine and high res, yeah. And all the things you see in infographics, those are SVG icons, so they scale nicely when you're printing them as well. All right, so switching gears here. So thanks, Fasil, that was great. Seems like the yoga, the fitness studio is coming together. Do we have more questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Go ahead, Fasil.
You don't, sorry. He doesn't. As long as he has access to ArcGIS Online, or you can share it publicly, without license, they should be able to view it. Yeah, no license is required to view the results. Yeah. You're essentially exporting it, so yeah.
So can we go to 4 now?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so I wanted to show the Business Analyst mobile app here with Fasil's demo here. So in this case, Fasil is working on this analysis to figure out the right location for the fitness center. And I am here with the Business Analyst mobile app that I'm showing on an iPad here. And I'm trying to figure out if there is any way I can help him. Maybe there are more properties in this area that we should consider. So this app is available on iOS and Android. And when you have access to the web application, you can use the same credentials to use this application. And the thing you can see here, I am working in the same project that Fasil was working in. And I have access to the sites and locations he was created. So basically what's happening here is behind the scenes here, we're following the ArcGIS sharing model to be able to share the work that he's doing in the Business Analyst mobile app now. Now the mobile app allows you to do 2 key things. One is go to a site and get some demographic snapshot of a location and see if it meets the minimum criteria you have for that location. And second, if you do like that location, you can capture more information about it, whether that's pictures, whether some attributes, and other information such as general notes. So I'm going to cover both of those in this. So in this case, I'm here with this mobile device, and somewhere here in San Diego, let's say we learn about another property that might be suitable for this fitness studio that we are considering, right? So I can go ahead at that location, drop a pin, and then at the next step, I can create some study area around it. So in this case, I've created a 5-minute drive time around the convention center, and you can see it's pretty focused because of the highway here, right? But the cool thing here is that really quickly now, I can look at some basic demographic snapshot of this 5-minute drive time. So there are over 3,000 people living here. Their median age is almost 31. The average home value is close to 900,000. And I can also quickly look at some of the spending facts here, how much they're spending on retail goods, gasoline, computer use, and education and healthcare and such, right? So this gives me some basic information about this location, whether it's suitable for the work I'm doing or not. The other thing I can do here to get more information is go ahead and run any of those classic reports that summarize data for you, or choose one of those infographics that Fasil has created. So Fasil had this infographics on demographic profile report for the new fitness studio. I just selected that. He has that shared with me as part of the project. And then I can go ahead and run it here. And what it is doing is essentially running the same infographic in a mobile-friendly way. So in this case, for the iPad, the infographic display has been optimized for the iPad. And you can see the map here. And the other thing you will see that we're not showing the full infographics in this case, and everything is shown in one panel at a time for easy interaction with this. It's not only responsive to this device, but also is interactive. So I can, for example, tap on median household income and look at further breakdown of income brackets in this area. So really nice way of kind of accessing each other's work, and while I'm on the go, I'm able to get more information about this location. So in this case, yes, I do like this location. So what I want to do next is maybe capture some information about it. So I can go to that site, maybe take some pictures, the front of the building, how does the parking lot look like. So in this case, I've already added a picture here in my gallery. I'm just going to add that. After that, I can add some attribute information about this location. So in this case, I have these predefined attributes such as building area and site area and such. This list is customizable, so you can customize it to collect whatever information you need, and some general information, some general notes that you might have about this location. So in this case, it's pretty visible location here along the street here, so I can take that as well. Now, once I'm done with this, the information capturing part of it, I can save this, and if you were to go back to Fasil's web application, then all this will be seamlessly available there, the picture, the site attribute, and notes, and that could be used further in any analysis that we would like to do. So really quick overview of the Business Analyst mobile app, available on iOS and Android. Highly recommend to check it out to get started with BA, Business Analyst. So just wanted to switch gears here and provide a quick update, a quick overview of the data that's included with Business Analyst. So as you could see here, for the US, we have various categories of data that's included with the product, ranging from basic demographics such as income, population, and such that Fasil was showing. We saw some of that in the mobile app, going all the way from to consumer spending, to market potential data, crime index values, business location summary, and such. So one of the very common questions we get about the data is, what's the source of this data? Where is this coming from? So there are primarily 3 sources of this data that's included. First, one of them is the publicly available data, such as from Census and ACS, American Community Survey. So we process that data, make it really easy to use in the product. So as Fasil just went into the web app and was able to use some of that census variables and the variables, right? So you don't have to invest any time in preparing that data, and it's just there ready to use for you. The second source is from Esri. I don't know if many of you are familiar with that Esri has an in-house demographic data development team that has demographers and statisticians on the team that take data from various sources, including Census and ACS, and model and process it to come up with the estimates for the current year, 2019, as well as the 5-year projections for 2024. So we released that update just a couple of weeks back. Before that, it was 2018, 2023. The third source here is from third-party vendors that Esri works with and licenses the data and makes it available, ready to use in the product. One of the data sets I really like to highlight is this really popular data set called Tapestry Segment. How many of you are familiar with Tapestry Segment or heard about it? Great, yeah, so a lot of you. So as I said, this is a really great data set. What it is essentially a market segmentation of all the households in the US into 67 distinctive segments. And those segments are created based on the socioeconomic and demographic characteristics of the households. So for example, one of the segments here is something called laptops and lattes. And when you look at their characteristics, those are uptown individuals. They have age range between 25 and 35, high median income, but maybe they don't own houses and such. So if you're looking for a certain type of target population for your work, this is a really great data set to find out where they live and what are the best medium or media channels that you can reach them using this data. The data that's included for outside the US for 137 countries, as Fasil mentioned in the beginning, for South America, for Europe, for Asia, for Africa and Oceania and such. There are basic demographic data there, such as population, age, income, and also some of the purchasing power on clothing, medical, and recreational things there too. So with that, I'll like to switch to Dan and Kyle to show how you could use this data along with advanced analytical capabilities in Business Analyst extension for Pro.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Praveen. That Tapestry segment you were describing sounds a lot like you were describing and talking about yourself.
I was talking about you, but yeah.
You'd be the key demographic for my product. Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Do you guys use ArcMap, or have you used the Business Analyst extension? Anybody? Okay, not too many. Okay, so we won't focus on where it was. We'll focus on what we're doing with it now. So the extension to ArcGIS Pro, the Business Analyst extension, Dan's going to demo here. But really, it's so what Fasil was showing. I guess it may be a step step forward in users are going to be using this to maybe it's for some high-level processing. They're going to geocode several customer records or several thousand customer records. They're going to be modeling. They're going to be doing customization. So it provides an avenue to that. And then I guess I did want to share, Praveen, you're going to have later a slide that's going to tell where they can, everyone can come meet us.
Yeah.
For, different sessions. We've got one tomorrow at 8:30. That's going to be a road ahead session. That's going to be very, very
Yeah,
interesting.
we'll cover that in the end. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the Business Analyst extension to Pro. I guess I'll just hand it over to Dan right now, and then we'll figure out some good things that we can share with you.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Fasil and Praveen. So Fasil just FedExed me his computer, so now I have it, and I can continue with analysis. So I'm in ArcGIS Pro. How many people are familiar with Pro? Awesome, great. So we have introduced the Business Analyst extension into Pro, and there's no additional installation, it's just there. So when you install Pro, you actually have Business Analyst. The only thing that's required is a license. We have a named user license, so we can grab the license in your organization, in your ArcGIS Online organization. It could be a single-use license or a concurrent-use license. So I have it installed, and with that, I'll have some additional functionality that wouldn't exist if you didn't have Pro, Business Analyst license. So one of the things that does not require a Business Analyst license is Infographics. So Praveen has shown it, Fasil has shown it. So we also have that in Pro, so I'll show that in a few minutes. We have a number of different tabs, and as I click on different tabs, I'll have different ribbons and tools and buttons show up. One of the ones that you'll see is under the Analysis tab, we have the Business Analysis drop-down menu, and these are the way to quick start into 4 different types of workflow, or 4 different workflows: Suitability Analysis, Territory Design, Color-Coded Layer, which Fasil has shown you, the Business Search. And another thing that we have is change your data source. So as mentioned previously, we support over 130 countries, 137 countries. So here we have a listing of all the different countries, so I can change my data to the one that I'm interested in. If I have data that's installed locally or even in an enterprise solution, I can also connect to that. So right now I have the 2018 data, we're working on 2019, and then when that's installed, it would just show up as another data source here.
Yeah, so you can have the same content that Fasil was showing in the web, demographics, streets, routing service, businesses, that lives in our ArcGIS online system, or you can download that and then apply it behind the firewall to your machine and then use it completely behind the firewall.
So the main way one way to interact is through the drop-down, and really what it does, it opens up one of the tools in the geoprocessing toolbox. So we have the Business Analyst toolbox, and also along with the Business Analyst extension comes with Territory Design. Who's familiar with Territory Design? A couple? So I'll show you that in a few minutes. It's basically a way to create areas or territories, and you roll up your smaller level geographies to upper level geographies to, for example, create sales territories or marketing areas. So you use the Business Analyst extension to get access to the Business Analyst data and advanced spatial analysis techniques, such as a Huff model, market penetration. One of the ones I'm going to show you is a color-coded layer. That is a tool to get access to your data, and we already saw Fasil do that. So I'm going to click on this button that opens up this data browser, and this allows me to browse through, find, and search for a specific variable that you're interested in. We saw the same experience in the web app. I'm going to drill down and select population, for example. So once I select population, click OK, it's going to add it to my tool, and then I click Run. Once I click Run, I have my layer added to the map. And you'll notice that this layer actually consists of many layers. It has a states layer, and it has a population, so higher concentration of population in the states, Texas, and out east. And then as we start zooming or drilling down, you'll see that it moves from the states level to the counties level. So states gets turned off, counties gets turned on. So there's a dependency to scale. And then I can continue zooming in, and we get down to the census block. So this is an example of the tool getting access to the rich content that Business Analyst has. So the scenario that we've been working on is to create or find the best suitable location for a new fitness studio. Some of the criteria that we mentioned is we want areas with high population. This population should be higher in income, young professionals. Those are the type of people that we want to attract to these locations. So mine is going to be more at a national scale. So we've identified 400 and something odd malls that has the retail space to open up a new fitness studio. So I've already done some preliminary work, and here are all my potential sites that I want to investigate. So I'm going to use this tool called Suitability Analysis. So Suitability Analysis is simply a tool that takes sites, you put in the criteria that I just mentioned, and figures out which one ranks the highest in terms of the scoring that we do based on those criteria. As an input, I need to put in a polygon feature class or polygon layer. So if I turn off the malls and I zoom in, I've already created two types of polygons. I've created some drive time areas. That's a new tool in 2.4. Or I can also use some simple rings. So in this demo, for simplicity, I'm just going to use rings. And in these rings, I've already enriched them with some of the variables that I'm interested in. And we have that enrich layer tool for that. So I'm going to click Run. And you'll notice that a new layer gets added to the map called Suitability Analysis, because that's what I called it, or I just used the default name. You'll notice as soon as this got loaded or added to the map, I have a new tab that gets lit up, and it's called the Suitability ribbon. These buttons basically open up a corresponding geoprocessing tool, or it opens up another visual or some kind of tool that interacts with this special layer called the Suitability Analysis layer. So the criteria that I want to use to analyze the most suitable location is already in my map or my layer. So I've enriched it with the household income information. I also have Tapestry Segment 3A. Everyone knows what that is, right? That is the laptops and lattes, right? So those are our characteristics or a population that are generally young professionals with higher income. So instead of saying, I want income levels of this, I want population of this young population, this basically encapsulates all of that and rolls that up and says that is the target audience or target population I want. Another group of people that I'm interested in is segment 3C, and those are our trendsetters. So now I can say these are the type of people that I want to capture in my analysis. I also want to add sales volume. So if I've already collected some information and I know the sales volumes for all these mall locations, so I'm going to add that. So now, once I've added all those criteria, I can click Run. It's going to rank order all those, give it a weight, and give it a score. And you'll notice that some areas have lower scores because it doesn't meet or it meets the criteria less. And some of the sites are darker color. That's going to be, it meets the score or higher score. So here's my 4 criteria that I mentioned. Right now, they're equally weighted at 25% each because I have 4 variables divided by 4 is 25%. But if certain weights, certain criteria is more important in your analysis, I can go ahead and increase that. For example, let's say aggregate income, and I can say I want to weight that to 50%. And then I'll recalculate that. If I open up these options, we can see that there's more stuff we can do. We can give it a range too. I would say I want it between these values, and that's more important. I have this inverse. So for example, if I had rent, I don't want to go to a site with higher rent. I want to go to a site with lower rent. So I'd say I want to inverse that and saying lower scores is actually more important to me in that situation. But in this case, we want positive. So as you see, as I start changing this, this dynamically runs and you get different results. or different calculations. So another thing I want to do is start filtering out some of the noise. There's a lot of sites. If I go out, we have, like I said, over 450 sites, but I want to start narrowing down to the most suitable location. I already know my data, and so I'm going to filter out and say if it meets a score of at least 0.5, I'll turn off the other ones, and I have one remaining site, and that's the site that Fasil had shown earlier. Actually, there's more than one site. There's actually 3 or 4 sites, but in the West Coast, that's the one that came out. So we have 3 in New York and 1 in California. Okay? So now that we've done our analysis, we've determined that that location is the best location, we're going to go ahead and proceed and create that new store. I'm going to pass it on to my sales and marketing group, and I want to say, here's our new store location. We need to rearrange my sales managers, and we need to do some more marketing campaigns. So for that, we have something called territory design. Territory design is a tool that helps you basically create territories or areas. You call it whatever you want, districts, enumeration areas. It just kind of depends on what area of study business you're in. It's a way of dividing your area into subgroups. So we already have 11 sales territories and marketing areas because we have 11 fitness stores. And now these are the populations, these zip codes that each manager is responsible for. We've identified the new location down here in San Diego, but now instead of 11 territories or areas, I want to create 12. So I need to make an adjustment to that. So I'm going to use something called territory design tools. So once again, I have this button or this tab that lights up, and I have a series of tools associated with territory design. I've already solved this, so I already figured out these were good territories previously, but now we need to make an adjustment. I want to add a new store location to my solution. So when I click on the load data, it comes up and opens the geoprocessing tool. I'm going to add my new store location. I'm going to append it to my existing solution, and that new red dot should be added to my solution. Okay, so we have the new location added, but now you see that it's not correct. We have 2 store locations and only 1 territory. We need to divide that up. But I want to divide them up accordingly with all the rest of the store locations. So I'm going to go ahead and resolve this. In other words, recreate the territories. Instead of 11 territories, I'm going to create 12, and I'm going to click Run. Okay, so a new territory is created. It divided that up. Let's take a look and see how well balanced they are and see how much population we have in each territory. And we notice right away it's not balanced. We want to create more balance so each territory and sales manager has equal number of population. So we can go ahead and balance that. I click on the balance variable tool. I have my variable population that I'm interested in. I set the weight to 100. So if I had multiple variables, I can weight them and saying it's 25, 75, 50, 50, whatever it is, and how many variables you have. I click Run. And then when I resolve it, it should adjust it so it's close as possible to balance. It may not be perfect. It just depends on how it can distribute it amongst the 12 different territories. And there we go. We have the 12 different regions, relatively balanced. So there might be some differences. We can go ahead and manually select certain areas and reassign it to new ones. So once I can run it manually or automatically, and then manually make some adjustments as I need to.
And you can also, Dan, so some of these territories might statistically meet your criteria, but they just look totally out of whack. It's just not going to work. So there's different constraints. If you click on the territory design tab there, different constraints that you can add to control the territory by attribute. So it shouldn't go beyond 150,000 people. It's a hard constraint. And then you might have distance constraints to add as well, like my trucks shouldn't go beyond 50 minutes or miles or something like that as well. So.
Oops. And then the last thing I wanted to show you before I bring it over back to Praveen is the Infographic Tool. So Fasil had taken a lot of time and spent a lot of time making this cool infographic template. I can take advantage of that. This is actually going online. So this data right now, that infographic is not on my machine. It's actually the one that Fasil created earlier. And now I can take that. I can print it out. I can save it. I can create the HTML. And then I can examine it through the slide mode that Praveen had mentioned earlier too. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Can you rebalance on more than one parameter and can you weight those parameters?
Yep.
The question was, can I add more variables and balance on more variables? The answer is yes. And you can weight them differently.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Yes, the question was, can you use your own variables? And the answer is yes. So as long as the data is inside your layer as a field and attribute, you can use your own.
And we have a way within Pro that you can set up custom data. So within that data browser, when Fasil or Dan was showing the demographics and selecting those variables, you can select your own variables within that same framework as well.
Yeah. Great.
Let's save the questions for the end.
Yeah, just a couple more slides to go over here, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So we saw a lot of stuff. I just wanted to summarize a few takeaways here for you. So the first thing here, the infographic capability that we showed, it's really great. It's one of the really popular features in the application, and it's a great way to summarize and present information to anyone. So we saw that in different business analyst applications. It's available in ArcGIS Pro. It's available even without a BA business analyst license in Pro. We saw that in story maps. We have a session that will cover how to use that via the JavaScript API and web app builder application. I'll talk about that session in just a minute. Business Analyst for Pro, as Kyle and Dan mentioned, it's installed with core ArcGIS Pro. You would need the license to turn it on. And the other great thing is there that you can go ahead and get started with it pretty easily once you have the license by logging into the online environment and using the online data. So you don't have to really install the local data to get started with. And the Business Analyst mobile app, feel free to download that, and that's an easy way to get started with Business Analyst for sure. If you need some resources, there are a lot of those we have on this website. I would highly recommend you to check out this particular resources page. There are a number of learn lessons there, a number of videos, over 40 plus videos that cover a lot of these demos we have been showing. And more questions about data, we have this data documentation page that covers the methodology, the source of the data, how frequently they are updated, and so on. If you don't have access to Business Analyst, you can sign up for a free trial on this URL and get going right away. Here are some of the related sessions. There's one tomorrow morning at 8:30. Highly recommend to check that out. We're going to highlight some of the key new capabilities we have added in the product, as well as some of the road ahead items we are working on for the rest of the year. This is the session, the demo theater today at 12:15. That will cover the use of infographics and your own data in, via the JavaScript API and web app builder. And another session tomorrow morning that's going to cover what's new with demographic data. Some of that we saw today. We're going to go into more details in that session. And we'll be at the Spatial Analytics and Data Science Island. If you have questions, feel free to drop by. We'd love to talk to you. And with that, I would definitely check out the feedback part of the events app. Provide us good feedback. If you don't want to do that, skip the slide. No, I'm just kidding. The feedback really helps. Please do let us know how we did. What else would you like to see in this session next year? And whether the content was aligned with your expectation. With that, I would like to open up for Q&A, and I'll leave this resources slide up here so you can note the links here. Like questions?
Yeah. Is the outfit customizable? Can I put my company logo on it, watermark, etc.?
So the question is, can I use the company logo in the infographics?
Correct.
Yes, the answer is yes. You can easily customize that template to bring in any image files or your own logos there. Yep. Oh, I think the second part of the question was, can I customize the application to use your own logo? Yeah, that's possible as well. So you can bring in your own logo and customize the theme of the application to make it look like your own organization's. Any other questions?
What can we expect about the data from other countries? Does it have the same grade of detail? Or
Yeah.
less detail than the USA?
Yeah, so the question is when can we get more data for other countries outside the US, right? So the data provider we have for the countries outside the US, especially after US, except US and Canada, is Michael Bauer Research. We license the data for them. For some countries in Europe, there are more detailed data available from local resources of the data. But a lot of that is also dependent on the data available in that country. But the great thing here is that there are tools to bring in and use your own data, as Fasil was showing with the My Data tab. So that can help in some situations as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, can the data from Living Atlas be used here or would be applied? Yes, the answer is yes. We didn't show that workflow, but when you go to add data from ArcGIS, you can add it from your own organization, the groups, and there is a tab there that allows you to browse the whole Living Atlas and bring data from there as well. So, yep, you can use that. Any other questions?
Where?
Two real quick, international geocoding, is that available? So we have a list of addresses in China. If we added in Excel, those geocoding.
So the first question is international geocoding supported here? The answer is yes.
Great. And then Tapestry, is there like a historic view year over year? If you want to locate a particular
Yeah.
track or a zip code?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, do we have year over year view of Tapestry for an area? The answer of that is currently no. We have started adding some historical data for previous years. So with the last release we had a few weeks ago, now you can access historical data for population, housing units, and households. But Tapestry is another good one. We would love to capture that feedback and consider that for future. Yeah, good point. Yeah, you had a question? I'm sorry, could you repeat that? So the question is there any data for school districts? So not in the data browser as Fasil was showing, but that could be part of the Living Atlas. We can check over there. Or if you have a school districts layer in shapefile or in ArcGIS, you can bring that in and use that with Business Analyst. Yeah.
So I know with story maps, you can set your export to be viewed on an iPad or a phone or whatever.
Yeah.
With the dynamic HTML or the story map export.
Yeah.
Is that an option for output without the VA?
Yeah, so the question is the story maps output. The story maps can be configured to be optimized for mobile devices like iPads and phone. With the dynamic HTML output, can that be done as well? So yes, that can be done. I mean, using the, you saw the slide view mode that Fasil was showing. So that's one way to look at dynamic HTML on a mobile device in a more mobile friendly way. And then the story map that was created out of Business Analyst, that's essentially the native story map that you would create from ArcGIS Online, right? So it's just the same story map. So and when you go to the edit option, when Fasil went there in the edit option, that opens up all the story map editing tools. So you can edit using those options in story maps and also configure it for to be optimized for the devices as well. Yeah. Great. Any other questions?
One more over here.
For the drive time export area, was that the thing that Dan was showing in Pro? So the question is the drive time areas that were created in Pro, can that be exported into a shapefile? The answer is yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Licensing. So if you have a license for Pro, that one license would be applied for enterprise and online, or for online you have to have one license, for Pro another.
So the question is, are there separate licenses for Pro and online and enterprise? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the answer is yes, those are separate licenses. They are priced differently depending on how you're deploying that and how that's being delivered. So the pricing for the online application and licensing is separate from the pricing and licensing for the desktop and enterprise applications.
So if you create an app in Pro with its license for Business Analyst and then publish that, would it still do what it does on Pro, like infographics and so on, all that would be still visible and can be transferred
Yeah, so the question is, can we view the infographics without the business analyst license when you publish it out of business analyst, right? The answer is yes, that can be done. Actually, in ArcGIS Pro, the feature that Dan was showing, you can run those infographics without having a business analyst license, as long as you share it with that user. Same with the BA web app. Once you export those or put them in story maps, those could be viewed without a business analyst license.
Please go back to one slide where you showed next session.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. We are at time here. Thanks you. We will be at the Spatial Analysis Island if you want to come by and talk to us. Thanks.